the space between a composer and singers that I'll never be in the room with. To me, that is holy ground. And I hope that I might scribble down on a paper some symbols that would help them see into some of what my heart's beating about.
Welcome. This is my dear friend, Tom Trenney, who is director of music ministry. Is that right? Or minister of music?
Minister of Music, yeah.
Minister of music at First Plymouth Congregational Church in Lincoln, Nebraska. He's also serving as director of choirs at Nebraska Wesleyan University and has a couple of different professional choral ensembles as well.
Thank you so much. It's great to get to chat with you today.
The first time I was really introduced to your music was when you sent me an arrangement of For Everyone Born, and this was in the late summer of 2015. So I don't know if it was published yet, but
I don't think so.
you had performed it, and I listened to it once in the car, and I probably listened to it 5 times on repeat, and just wept as I drove home, tried, safely to drive home. What drew you to want to set that piece?
It was, I think, only the third composition that I had started as I was just kind of getting started to have the courage to write things down. And I write mostly for choirs because if I want to play something, I can just go and play it. I don't need to write it down for myself necessarily. But if I want to create something with friends, there has to be a bit of a roadmap for that. That was my idea behind composing at first. What can I write down to help people have a spiritual expression experience together? And how can you try to help set the tone and space for that? Because that hymn's not in everyone's hymnal, this choral arrangement was a way of introducing this important text and this important melody, beautiful melody, to a lot of congregations before a book might have done that. And so it's become a great way, I think, in these last few years especially, of helping the church catch up to sing about some things that we for too long weren't singing about. We were created each uniquely because there wasn't just the right enough love and joy in the world without us being there too, and we then have the opportunity, because we can see that same love and joy in our neighbor, of helping to draw that out and to helping others have the opportunity to experience that in the ways we do, or in creating ways for them to do it in a way that maybe we could not. And so I do love that. As a person who works in the church, I love that. As a parent, I love that. As a child, I love that. And the way that creates a sense of belonging and community. And I think it also speaks with subtones to people who often feel left out. This song gives people a chance to re-enter and then perhaps re-understand some of those deeper, more worshipful things that we need to sing about too.
For many who feel like there hasn't been a place for them at the table, it's incredibly meaningful for them to see their different just aspects of life, or who they are, acknowledged in that way, in a sacred space. What's kind of your philosophy, or if you have one that you could talk about a little bit about creating community in the music ministry?
I think so often the choice has been made that if we want younger people, that tends to be the kind of buzzword, I guess. If we want younger people in the church, we have to change the music, and it all has to be like what they listen to on the radio.
Right.
The problem to me is it's so easy to turn on the radio. You don't even have to go anywhere to do it. It can literally be in your ears, and nobody else even knows. And if you don't like that song, you can change the channel. The church is never going to be that good at tuning people to the exact song they want to hear in the exact voice that they want to hear, and that sorts of things. To me, the church is the place where you go and you get to be a part of the song. That doesn't happen a lot of places. You can go to the opera, but they don't want you to be singing with them.
Right.
You can go hear the Minnesota Orchestra, but they don't want you to join in on the last verse. Okay, there are very few places, especially in our culture, where people's voices are valued in and I don't just mean in a metaphorical way, although I mean that as well.
Yeah, right.
And so I think what I hope is that we sing enough different kinds of songs, as I know you do in your choir too, that people see their fingerprints in some of them, and then that gives them the curiosity and openness to realize that maybe if I don't see my fingerprints in this one, I can see the person sitting down the pew might be maybe feels really connected to this one. I have a reflection that I often share, and one of the things that it says is, could it be said of all our churches that this is the place where people sing one another's songs? Could we be that hospitable? Traditional music spans so much. There are traditional people who sing all over the planet. So the idea of traditional is actually very expansive. It's not limiting really in any way. That's been our approach here, of to be broad and to hopefully bring color and spirit and vitality to whatever sound world we're entering at any point.
I think this is right, but I thought I read maybe like 15 years ago that Marty Haugen wrote, "We all need to sing each other's music in heaven, so we better start now."
Hmm. I love that.
That really is expansive, welcoming theology. I think for a church certainly, but also for those who are conducting choirs in schools.
In building our choir communities, it's a sense of faithfulness that our singers, I think, experience both ways, and that
Mhm.
they know that you'll miss them if they're not there, but you'll also know they're going to miss being there. More importantly, that there's something about being together that is better than being apart. So often in church music, we worry a lot about content, and we need to. That's essential. But it also matters how we deliver that content and how we honor to use Mr. Rogers' words, how we honor the holy ground that connects us with our congregation, with our choir. The space between the organist and the pew, that's holy ground. How do we tend that? How do we take care of that? Is it just transactional space, or is it really relational space? The space between a composer and singers that I'll never be in the room with. To me, that is holy ground. And I hope that I might scribble down on a paper some symbols that would help them see into some of what my heart's beating about these particular words. And I hope that the person that's sharing the song with them will be that aware of what the song's trying to say, rather than trying to do what I told them to do, if you hear what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes in church music, we're guilty of being too worried about getting it done and getting it right,
Mhm.
and not concerned enough about how we're employing the gift of breath, the gift of life itself, and letting it become a song, and just being continually amazed. Your choir doesn't get better because your choir gets better. It gets better because the individual people in your choir free the beauty that's already born in them. What a privilege, I think, in my life as a composer and as a conductor, to have, and I know you share those same rules, to have the opportunity to be a part of that freeing process.
I've not thought about it. Even if you encourage your singers to go out and get voice lessons or invest more time and money in that kind of work, they aren't buying something new that they just kind of plug into themselves. It's already in them.
Isn't that true about every important thing of our life? We get distracted with what we add on. What am I going to wear? What kind of glasses am I going to have? What kind of haircut am I going to get? I decided to simplify that several years ago. Ultimately, the things that we really experience and that change us happen from the inside.
With all of this, with choir, with church, with music making, we are in the people business. We just happen to use music to do what we want to do in this world. It's just beautiful. Thanks so much, Tom, for being here today. We've loved being able to talk with you today, and hope to be able to do it again soon.
I can't wait for the next time. Thank you, Janaea.
And if you would like to listen to this conversation in its entirety, we encourage you to go to nlca.com and visit an area where you can take a look at our virtual subscription, and you'll be able to hear the entire conversation between me and Tom Trenney.